what is more likely in your mind? That Shane Beamer and we'll say his staff, I mean, staffs can change, right? But that the Shane Beamer, I don't want to say project, but overall, Shane Beamer is a grand slam. And I'm not saying grand slam like get to that idiot in the upstates level or Georgia's level, winning national titles. I'm thinking more so like winning 8, 9 games a year every 2-3 years, competing for the SEC East title realistically. What's more likely? That hire being a grand slam or it being a complete dud and South Carolina redoing this in 5 years?
Wait, first of all, that's a grand slam for South Carolina, winning
I,
eight
I
games a
think
year?
I think starting out it has to be. If you can get to the year in, year out point, and I wanted to get to this question later, we can talk about it now. Realistic expectations for the South Carolina football program, because I don't think you can say right now you can put on Shane Beamer, okay, we got to start competing for national titles. I mean, this is realistically a program that has won 9 games or more, I think 7 or 8 times in its entire history. So, and I'm as big a Gamecock fan, and I love the high expectation. I talk Carolina baseball, and the expectation every year is to get to Omaha, and people get upset when we don't get there. And it's like, I love that. That you have, I mean, Alabama doesn't win a national title. It's a bad year, right? That's a good thing. It's a good thing to have expectations. But, I think you gotta walk before you can run, right? Like you need to get to the point kind of like where Michigan State is, or you know what I'm saying? Like to the point of where you're realistically competing. Maybe every 2 or 3 years you have the right quarterback or the right roster or you schedule right, God forbid, or the SEC East is down or whatever it may be. But, winning 11 games 3 years in a row, Mike, I mean, again, I'm the biggest Gamecock fan there is, but do you think that's realistic? I mean, winning 11 games a year with Georgia's not going anywhere. Florida's Florida. Tennessee is doing, I mean, I know they're a dumpster fire. I guess you're a Tennessee guy a little bit, right? They're doing everything in their power, though, to get back, and they have the tradition. They have that advantage over you. Hell, Missouri, everybody is trying to win. I like to remind fans, Mike, everybody else is trying to win too. Like, we're not the only team that's recruiting. We're not the only team that wants to win, right? So I guess I ask you that first question. And the second question, what would you say are realistic year in, year out expectations for Carolina football? At least starting out. At some point, of course, you want to be, but I don't think even Clemson started out with, we're going to get to the playoff every year. They had to start out with, okay, we got to compete for the ACC title.
Well, I guess to answer your first question, I think it's more realistic that Shane Beamer can I won't call it a grand slam, but I think he can consistently win 8 games at South Carolina. Maybe not right out the gate. I don't see this team doing quite that, but I do like, there is many pieces to build upon, and credit to him to, it really seemed like their recruiting ranking was terrible, but of course, Gamecock fans know. Well, first of all, the recruiting rankings, I am a big fan of, I think those guys do a hell of a job, and you can't win on the football field to win in recruiting, but South Carolina got screwed with the rankings because instead of targeting a bunch of high school seniors, they targeted a bunch of transfers, and those don't factor into the recruiting ranking. So their ranking is kind of, I just completely disregard it. So I credit them for identifying I think he's looking at the roster and kind of saying, this cannot be a 3 or 4 year rebuild. We've got enough pieces to where if we add some veteran players in a year or 2, we can turn this into a 7-8 win program. So I credit him for swinging big right out the fence, because I think that's what you got to do in the SEC. Yeah, we're running coaches off now. Chad Morris didn't even get 2 years. Jeremy Pruitt got 3 years, and then we turned him into the NCAA.
Which it's crazy, because I don't know if any coach had more. I may be wrong saying this, but I feel like Jeremy Pruitt had so much momentum coming into last year, and then it disappeared quicker than it came. I mean, it was insane how that happened.
Oh yeah, I lived it.
Yeah, right. You did, of course. It was. I was like, they beat South Carolina week 1, and you're like, bro, Jeremy Pruitt, he's on cloud 9. He's the best thing. And then a couple weeks later,
what happened. I'll tell you what happened. They were under the impression JT Daniels was coming there, and he was coming to Tennessee. And then at the 11th hour, like often happens in Athens, he made the announcement he's going to Georgia. So they were like, oh, what the hell? Now we got another year of Garantano. And, I'm not one that sits here and bashes these college players, but Garantano, he cost Jeremy Pruitt his job. And if they would have got JT Daniels, they would have never come forward with all these recruiting violations, and Jeremy Pruitt's still your head coach, I think.
Right.